And then I was about to leave, and you said, if you leave, I'm taking this ring off.
Welcome to Closet Margaritas, guys. I'm Cassie.
I'm Sean.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
Good.
Yeah.
You had to think about it a little bit.
Sometime I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
In a study that was done, the average person says they argued with their partner 2 to 3 times a month. Relationship experts say that for a couple to be healthy, that they should argue at least 1 to 2 times a week.
A week.
A week.
So like Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Yeah, that
Schedule
seems,
an argument.
That seems doable, right?
Yeah.
Well, in this episode today, we're talking about arguments and all the things that are involved in an argument, what causes them, why people argue, and how maybe you should argue.
But yeah, this is a really good topic. I think it's something that we all do. Either we do it more frequently or not, but it's definitely a part of human interaction. How often do you think we argue?
Now, we don't argue that often. Now, we have like little snips at each other sometimes when we're aggravated or annoyed with each other. I don't think that we argue as frequently as we used to on the very beginning of our relationship.
So I think with us in the beginning of our relationship, it probably was more about, I don't know you, you don't know me, but this is what I don't like, and this is what you don't like, and that becomes a point of contention.
No, I agree. I feel that whenever you do start off in a relationship, you got to iron out all the wrinkles, all the little kinks that are in there, because you don't know each other, and you think you know somebody until you start living with them.
Yeah.
And when you start living with them, that's when things get really interesting, because then you're like, I didn't know that you didn't brush your teeth before bed. I didn't know that you didn't use the type of laundry detergent that I use. Like things like that could get on people's nerves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree with you. Unfortunately for us, the best form of, because arguing is a form of communication, the best form of communication we use is combative and arguing, which doesn't always solve the problem, but it definitely gets your point across, I think.
Why do you think people get so defensive, though? Usually whenever, because I know, speaking from our arguments,
Yeah.
we would get into arguments, and then if one person, like, for example, if I'm snippy with you and you're like, why did you just say it like that? Your tone is off. And then I get so defensive. Like, why do you think people get so defensive on the onset?
I think people want to be perfect. And I think that it probably comes from even when we were children. Think of us when we were raising our kids when they were younger. A lot of times you didn't even have to really, all you had to do is make them feel bad. And then it would that was punishment, right? So I think that when someone is calling out your tone or whatever else, it's a form of punishment.
You think it's a form of manipulation?
I think it could be used that way. But I don't think that it's always meant that way. I think sometimes you could just be in your feelings and hearing something different, and you could be saying it. You could say it on Monday one way, say it on Wednesday the same way, and for some reason I take it differently.
100% true.
So I don't know if it is always used as manipulation. I think it's more of an internal voice that you translate when you hear it.
What do you think the ingredients to an argument is, though? What's the format?
I would say the first ingredient is misunderstanding, not or unintentional misunderstanding. Like, I don't know what you meant by that. And we do it now in today's society with texting. We infer so many emotions. And that same word is in the Webster dictionary. Like, but or and or okay. Okay is a big one.
Listen, if you send me a text and it says just okay and not okay exclamation, and don't you dare send me a text that says okay period or just a K, I'm like, oh my God, they're pissed at me.
So let me let
What
you
I
in.
do.
Let me let you in on a pro tip. One of mine, because we all have our little, tricks. If I tell you all right, I'm upset.
Oh, I know.
See, because I have to use way more
what
letters.
you say is, all right, Cassandra.
Yeah. Yeah, that's your name.
I always be like, why are you calling me by my name? Don't call me
It is your
my name.
You call me by name. That's my name, Sean.
Well, and when I'm mad at you,
What do you?
I call you Shancito. I call you Shankla. I call you all these other things but Sean.
Yeah.
When I'm happy, I call you babe, baby. But when I'm pissed at you, I will call you Sean.
Well, I'm calling you Cassandra when I'm upset with you. How
Sean,
about that?
Sean.
Yeah, Sean. Yeah. So, what? Same question for you. What? Like, I mean, that's just one of the
Yeah.
ingredients. I think misunderstanding is one.
I think it's assumption.
Okay.
Assuming that this person feels this certain type of way and getting in your own head about it.
Yeah.
A lot of people read way too much into things. And it's funny because you want people to show you grace. You know what I mean? Whenever you maybe have a tone or whatever, and you don't want really people to, point it out.
Yeah.
But you don't want to show that same grace whenever they do it. So I think assuming somebody means something instead of asking, that's one thing that is a big, what I noticed in our relationship, that's a big ingredient.
Yeah. I think you said something a word that's very powerful. It's a silent power that every powerful couple has, and that's grace. I do think that when you learn the art of showing grace, your entire life is going to be way more peaceful. Now, people could still be wilding out around you, but as long as you're showing grace and keeping your wits about you.
Listen, that's hard, Sean. And I'm not mad at you.
Yeah, I agree, Cassandra. It probably is hard. But I do
It's really hard. It's really hard to show grace.
Yeah.
Because I know I get in my feelings, and I always want to be the best person, the best version of myself. And when I feel like it's misunderstood or, if you're assuming I'm a certain way, I get super defensive. And that's something I still struggle with. I'm trying to work on that actively.
Yeah. Because
there's so many times where I know I can get snippy. I know it. And then if I catch myself, I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to come back. Or if you check me. Here's the thing, though. When you check me, I get even more mad.
Yeah, you can't win for losing.
I'm working on it. I told you I'm working on it.
Yeah, I mean, it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. So I don't disagree with arguing. I do think as I've gotten older, and I'm sure the Hill people feel this way, I don't have the energy.
That part.
And so at this point in life, it's like, okay, let's talk about whatever it is.
Yeah.
Let's check your feelings at the door. Because I don't got time. I don't got time to like make you feel better about something that, I didn't even mean to say. Let's focus on one thing at a time. And so I think that as you get older, you just don't have that mental capacity. And it also, if you think about it, like back when we used to argue, we would argue like all night. I mean,
wait a minute.
Well, I mean, that leads me to my next question. Length of time with arguing.
Okay.
I do think there are different types of people in the world, right? I do think there are people that there might be even like three. There's people that don't want to argue and they just sweep everything.
Non-confrontational.
Yep. I think there's people that are like completely cool with arguing and can argue until they blue in the face.
Sean Stevens.
And then I think there are hybrids, right? So people that are fine with arguing until it gets to a certain level or decibel, and then they're like, I'm out.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's me for sure.
I would say you used to be the first.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would literally go to sleep on you. You're talking literally to yourself at that point because I'm like, first of all, I never understood why you wanted to argue at night. Why did our arguments always happen at night?
Because I got stuff to do during the day.
But you would hold it in. And then at nighttime, when I'm about to go to sleep, I got to talk to you about something. I'm like, oh, shit, here we go.
It's the best time.
No. And then so you would get so upset with me because you would be literally like Dick Tracy. Is he an investigator? Who's the one? Perry Mason, not Dick Tracy. Perry Mason. You'd be like arguing and just talking about, everything and then me, your voice, it just like starts to be like, wah, 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 and I fall asleep. And you would get so upset. Remember, you would like be like, Cassie, wake up.
You know what? In the comment section, I need y'all to let her know. Send some of that food truck hate to her
No.
about going to sleep on somebody when they're discussing their feelings.
Hey, we're not talking about that food truck lady, okay?
I just
Which
said
was
food.
foul, by the way.
I just said food truck hate. That's all I said.
Well, I don't need that hate
Look, it ain't
from the food truck lady.
none of my business. Anyways, so me, as I've gotten older, I've kind of probably went more into the hybrid mode.
Yeah.
I do think that that's probably more of a Zen space to be in. I do think the non-confrontational is a very dangerous space to be in because not only are you never getting what you need to say out, but you're also never hearing what someone else needs to say to you because you're non-confrontational. I don't want to argue. I don't want to, I mean, at that point, you might as well be a Big Bird's homie, and just be like, "Hey, Bird, I just don't want to argue anymore."
Snuffleupagus.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I feel that a lot of people who are non-confrontational, they either are very uncomfortable with being wrong, uncomfortable with their partner criticizing them, or they don't know how to effectively get their thoughts out.
So I think you had another ingredient to an argument that you wanted to.
Yeah. So also tone. So
Okay.
we said miscommunication, we said assumption, and I also feel another ingredient to start an argument is the tone. Because why are you coming at me like that? Like, why can't you talk to me kindly or sweetly? Or be like, babe, I really have something really important to talk to you about. Please don't take offense.
That makes
But
no sense.
Why?
No-
but
no one talks
honestly, people do talk to each other foul, especially in a relationship. And I've always said this to people. Why are you talking to your mate the way you would never talk to your best friend? As you shouldn't. You would never talk to your best friend like that. If that person that you are with, you're living with, and they're supposed to be your day one, your day one Dan and day one Danielle, why are you talking to them crazy like that? I understand when you're upset and it's hard to like get your feelings across without being emotional and passionate about it. But you got to remember, you got to check yourself and remember who you're talking to. You don't want people talking to you crazy.
I completely agree. We all have fell victim to that.
Yeah, it's delivery.
I mean, I know I have been straight up sideways. I mean, I talked to you like I was Oscar the Grouch before.
Yes. Yes.
But I mean,
And the way you look. The way you looking at me too.
Well, that's my face. I get to.
No, because I told you yesterday. I said, "Hey, babe, I have an idea for the podcast."
Yeah.
And you were listening to what? Alicia Keys.
Yeah, I was.
And what was the face? Show the people the face you gave me.
I just said,
I don't like that.
No.
Don't look at me like that.
so don't look at you now. So next time,
Like that.
Next time you say, "Babe, I want you to watch something," I'll be like,
And sorry for the people who are listening on the podcast. Basically, he looked at me with a blank stare, and I don't like it.
it was no emotion.
Smile at me.
No, it was no emotion. I'd rather have no emotion, and that way you can't critique no emotion.
Yes, and I obviously did. But anyways.
I gave you the cadaver face. I
I
did.
said, so miscommunication, assumption, tone, and don't look at me crazy. I think those are the ingredients, to starting an argument, So what is the craziest or funniest argument you've ever been in? Do the fun. I know which one I want you to tell.
Oh, well, I mean,
I'm hoping
here we go
you'll
with a
tell
script.
It.
I mean,
No, I'm not
I
trying
have
to
no
script you.
idea.
No, there's something.
I'm drawing a blank.
with the stereo.
Oh, okay. So I thought we were talking about current active relationship. I don't know why we want to go.
This one is just so funny to me.
But that wasn't an argument. That was abuse. That was real quick. Okay. I am 19 years old, probably, right? I'm in college and I am, ever been in a relationship where it's like off and on? And what's weird about the off and on relationship is that even when y'all off, you on. So therefore, when y'all have broken up, you still can't date other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so childish. But I was in that, and
Yeah.
I was riding and dying with that.
I think we've all kind of put those rules on each other.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Anyways, we were off. I was dating somebody else. She was at the crib. The off and on again girlfriend found out at the bars while she was kicking him back, like knocking him back, and was like, "Yo, I heard Sean is at the crib with so and so." So, during the breakup, when you off and on, you still leave stuff at that other person's house.
Yeah, it's like residuals.
Yeah, because you're going to come back,
You
right?
gotta, you know, you're wanting to come back. That's why you leave stuff. If you're done with someone, you taking all your stuff and you ain't coming back.
Unless they trying to be rude and hide it from you and you can't find it.
Yeah, well, yeah. But
So,
okay, go ahead.
So anyways, my jam box, and I had a Sony jam box that had the CD player on the top. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And it was the anti-skip joint, so I could just move it around. It wouldn't
hell
skip,
yeah,
right?
right.
So I love that jam box, little black joint. And so I'm at the house with the other one, and I hear doop, 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 doop. And I'm like, I know this ain't this person. I open the door. She throws the jam box in my arms. I have to catch it because it's my favorite jam box. And she slaps me. I'm talking about, if you haven't watched slap boxing, watch it. I'm talking about a full-fledged open hand to God.
She came from the depths of hell and like did a full Mortal Kombat, like pop.
Yeah. And so it stunned me, and then she pushed me out the way. And the other one, she runs into the bathroom, and the on and off again girlfriend is banging on the door. I know you in there, blah 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 blah. So, anyways, to sum up the story, she leaves, and then the other one is like, I'm not doing this. You got way too much stuff going on. So that's the story on that. That had nothing to do with an argument. So
I don't know. It was just really funny.
Yeah.
I like hearing about the stories where you got slapped. I don't know. It's not that I want to slap you. Sometimes I do.
Yeah.
But I don't.
So
okay?
if we're talking about funny things, okay, I know one thing that I laugh about now that I used to hate that would make me argue with you more is when you be like, all you gonna do is lecture me. Oh, you gonna lecture me? And I'm older than you, so therefore it always made me like feel like I was like a bad old dude. And you're like, you're gonna lecture me? And I'm like, I don't
listen. That's one of my pet peeves. Do not lecture me. I don't need to hear your whole like dissertation on what I did to you or whatever. Keep it short and sweet and to the point, you know?
But again, that's your argument style.
Well, that's my argument style, yes.
Not mine.
No. Which, I mean, we'll get into argument styles here in a second.
Yeah.
But I remember one of the funniest times that we argued. We did not live with each other yet, but we lived literally across the hall from one another. And when we would argue, and I don't remember why we argue, it was something stupid, but I remember we had keys to each other's doors. And when I tell you we lived directly across, like it was 3 steps. It was like boom, 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 you're at the door.
Yeah.
I remember we argued so bad about something, and you were at my apartment, and you stormed out.
Yep, I did.
Slam my door. 2 seconds later, slam your door. I come out after you, slam my door. 2 seconds later, slam your door. And we are going back and forth, going from like apartment to apartment. And for the life of me, I'm like, why didn't either one of us lock the door? Whenever you left, you should have locked the door on my ass. But then I would have knocked.
No, because that would have been a worser argument, because it's like, oh, you locking me out now? I might as well. I'm not invited to your house anymore.
We have the key.
Yeah, but the fact that you locked me out, it would have been worse.
No, we had keys. We had keys to each other.
But you can't do that.
But why did we do that? You know what I mean? But young and dumb.
Adolescence. I mean, because and think about it. When you're arguing, you still have certain rules that you follow.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes you could be thinking something.
Yeah.
And every so often, if you let it slip, that's when it's like, okay, we're just releasing nuclear bombs now.
Well, remember, like, the clown, Sean's clown, would come out. And that clown is terrifying and funny at the same time.
I see you do a lot of this during this episode. It's a lot of this. I feel a lot of this.
Sorry.
And
it's funny, though.
It's a little abusive.
No, Sean's clown, the crazy clown, and I feel if you're a Gemini, all of y'all have this clown. And it's like almost like it. Right? Y'all conform into different versions of this clown, and each one of y'all's little clown is unique to you. Sean's crazy clown, he loves to talk, and he loves to talk to you and to himself. So if he's upset, and you don't do, I think it's because you are older, but you don't do this as often, but I would hear you if I was like, I need space. You would walk away, and I would hear you talking to yourself about me. Oh, she don't want to talk to me. Okay, I got her. Oh, and you would just keep on going, and I would just be chuckling mad. But I'm like,
wow. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how not to love your mate. Yep. I will. That's how you. That's how you not love.
I'm sorry, but it was kind of funny sometimes. You would be saying some funny shit and I'd be laughing. And I'm like, that was kind of funny, but I'm still upset with him. And I'll be like, valid point, but no, I'm still mad.
I'm glad we've gotten past all that.
I'm sorry.
'Cause I can't even believe I made it through that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, babe.
Well, I think I'm ready for something spicy.
Oh, you want something spicy?
Yeah.
I have the spicy margarita. You want to try it?
Yeah.
All right. So, have you purposely created an argument?
Oh, yeah.
Why? And I mean, do you remember any examples?
I don't remember an example, but I'll tell you why. And I think it goes deeper than just one time. I think, you know how when I first met you, you were saying I get bored easy?
Yes.
I think for me, at times in my life, when everything is going, it doesn't have to be going great, but it's just going kind of like flatline.
Yeah.
And understand, flatline is not a bad thing. We understand autopilot can be a bad thing, but flatline meaning it's a nice little breeze. It's like partly cloudy, a partly cloudy day, right? Nothing is really great or bad. Mm-hmm. Sometimes in your mind, you'll start to kind of stir and you're like, the only way this feels better if there's a problem.
But why? Why can't we figure something else out to do?
If I knew the answer to that, I would never do it.
So, like, how do you even like start thinking of what to argue about? Do you choose something major? Do you choose something middle of the road or something that you know, okay, well this will blow over in a couple hours? Like, how do you choose the severity?
I mean, we're drinking spicy margaritas right now. This is what I will tell you.
Yeah.
This is something really spicy. We all keep a backpack of issues that we have with the other person.
Right now, you have a backpack of issues for me.
We all do.
Spill one.
No, we all do.
I feel like those are they belong to me, so you need to give them back.
They actually belong to me until I'm willing to give them to you. So I just say that to say that there's a lot of times we show one another grace.
Yes.
And a lot of times it's unsaid grace. You don't be like, I forgave you for doing that.
Okay.
Right. And so what you're doing is you've given grace, and then you get to a point you're like, you know what? You did that. And now you're doing this. I'm bringing it all out.
Like today is the day.
Yeah. And so I think that when you start to get weird in your relationship, and it's not the relationship, it's inside of you.
100%.
And there are ways around this. Okay. There are stress relievers. There could be a lot of things going on in you mentally and even spiritually that you need to exercise out of yourself in order to not lash out at people. And I think that times when I have created, some type of weird argument is because I'm like, well, I mean, what next?
Is it like it's going too well? Let me go ahead and bring something up in the forefront to get it out the way.
I would even take out the word well. It's going. So now what?
Okay.
You know what I mean? So because
it's like self-sabotage.
Well, but in not the typical sense of the word self-sabotage. I feel like we often attribute self-sabotage to be like, it's going great. What's wrong? For the way I'm using it is that nothing's wrong. Something got to be wrong. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I've never felt like that. You know what I mean? I feel that I always want everything to be right so often. I don't even want to I don't want to think about something being wrong. You know what I mean? And so even if I have an issue with you, I will go back and forth in my head on whether or not it's worth it. You got to pick and choose your battles.
You do.
Right? You do. But there's a lot of times where I'm like, nah, it's really bothering me. And this is how I know when I need to get it out. If I'm constantly thinking about it a couple hours, from the onset, and if it's really eating me up and it's starting to consume my thoughts, I'm like, I got to get this out. But
that point proves what I'm saying about the backpack. Because when you pick and choose your battles, the ones you don't choose, they're in that backpack.
So they're just waiting.
Oh, they're in the backpack. When you open it, I liken it to like, Ghostbusters when they would capture the ghost in that little thing.
In that thing.
That's all the issues.
Oh.
And then sometimes you got to put it in that vault.
Because it gets too full.
Yeah, it's too many ghosts. Too many ghosts in there. Yeah, you got to let them go.
Yeah.
Remember, that's how Slimer got out.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, if something's going weird, if you feeling awkward that day, you going to open that backpack.
It's interesting because it does happen at a drop of a dime, though, where something will just be going too well. And I can understand how you were saying, oh, something must be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's going too well because you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that's like part of anxiety.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree. I mean, it's all in that stress and anxiety, but it's all, again, I do want people to understand, as I continue to understand, that it's all internally. It starts internally.
Yeah.
Now, there are good people that say bad things.
Yeah.
There are bad people that say very bad things.
100%.
You have to discern between that. That's when you apply grace and space. But ultimately, it starts with you.
Let's talk about ways and things that we've learned through our journey, because Lord knows we've had our arguments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about ways that we've learned to kind of combat that.
So I feel like I would say the biggest lesson that we learned is not to argue about the argument.
What do you mean argue about the argument?
So it's almost like an out of body experience. Like, you have an issue with the person.
Yes.
Rather than y'all talking about that, it's like then becomes all these other people in the room. They're all versions of you, and y'all arguing about other things, right?
So are you talking about more so like, say, I pick a fight with you because you're supposed to get a gallon of milk and you didn't for the third time this week.
Okay.
And it just made me really upset. Mm-hmm. I'm like, but you always do this. You didn't get the milk. You didn't go do this. And it becomes an argument about everything externally except for the milk.
And understand, in that time period right there's two things that cause the argument. Mm-hmm. The word always, which is a polar word that we
Those
both know.
absolute words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it's the tone.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I forgot the milk. Okay. I did. But it's like, to your point, when you said you want to be perfect, it's like nobody ever wants to be told they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
And we all have to learn how to be able to accept that.
And I think a lot of the root of an argument could come from a couple things. Number one, it could literally just be superficial and just be something silly.
Yeah.
Or it could be just a compound of issues that you've had in that backpack and it's way too heavy, and it'll be something little that'll set you off. You're like, you know what? I'm unloading this on you right now. And it becomes this humongous thing. So whenever you were talking about, you're arguing about the argument, I totally get what you say now. Because instead of it's you and your partner, and y'all are arguing with each other, when it should be you and your partner trying to tackle this issue that's trying to drive a wedge between you.
Yeah.
You guys aren't the enemy with each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I do think there is a form of healthy arguing. Mm-hmm. But I think we agree, we've talked about this, there are 3 types of arguments, right? So you are going to have like, not even arguments. I would say there's 3 types of
disagreements.
Communication can lead to an argument.
Okay.
There's a heated conversation.
Yes.
Right. So I feel like the milk is probably a heated conversation, and heated doesn't always have to be mad, but it's heated.
Yeah.
You like, I need this milk, and I can't make this cornbread without this milk. Okay. Yeah. You haven't got the milk.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's the debate where it's like, I wanted you to do this, and then I'm like, I don't think I should have to do this. Then you're debating.
Yes.
And then there's just a full out argument.
Yeah.
And within the argument, I bring my toy box and you bring yours.
Yep.
And I have water guns. I have that little homie don't play that sock. I have everything in there, and I'm pulling it all out.
Yeah, those World War III fights where you're like, this is it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we just gonna break up then.
And that's a game we play, right? That's like the okay and all right.
Yep.
It's like, I'm done.
Oh God,
I'm done.
Oh, I was good with that.
Yeah,
I would.
And I'm like,
pull. That's like my reverse. That's my reverse Uno.
Yeah.
Like if you come to me and you have something, I'm like, I got you. I'm done.
And I think you can agree that
petty.
It's probably one of the worst things you can say in the midst of an argument.
So let's talk about those things, those absolute words, and those things that you purposely say to one another because you know it hurt.
Yeah.
Everyone has their triggers, and you know your partner's triggers.
Yeah.
If you don't, you need to.
Yeah.
I know that every time you use, and I just used one, when you use those absolute words, like always, you never, you always do this. How come every time those words, they have a lot of power, and you have to really be careful when you use those, Those are words that if I'm like, you always do this, blah, 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 and that's not true. You don't always do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you really have to be not tactful, but yes.
Yeah.
Whenever you talk about your issues with one another, because if you use those absolute words, those are going to set me off.
Yeah.
For real, you know?
Yeah. I think absolutes are definite. I mean, there's it's just a game.
Yeah.
Right. But I do think like things of saying, I'm finished, I'm done.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Or even those
I'm tired of this.
yeah, or if you keep doing that.
Yeah, then I'm a go.
Yeah.
Even leaving.
Yeah.
That was another thing.
I used to have a bad issue with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, especially if you struggle with abandonment issues, the worst thing your partner can do is leave in the argument.
Do you remember way back in the day when we were engaged to be married, and I had that bad habit of leaving? Our kids were young. We had gotten in an argument, and I was about to leave, and you said, "If you leave, I'm taking this ring off."
I do remember that.
Yeah,
I do.
That, and I remember I was like,
but I wasn't gonna do it.
But it sat me down.
Yeah.
Right. And I think over time I learned that, you know what, that is a very childish option that shouldn't be on the table for me. And I would always leave it on the table just to hurt you.
Yes.
But that again, it's all about understanding, maturing, and being something more than what you were.
But also then I didn't know I had abandonment issues like that. After I got into therapy last year, with my childhood trauma and stuff like that, that's when it kind of got uncovered.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I do have abandonment issues.
I agree with that, but and this is why getting to know yourself before you try to get to know someone else is so important, because you never told me that because you didn't know that.
I didn't know, yeah.
So, and even with me, due to things that happened to me in my childhood, I had trust issues. I was slightly forthcoming with those, but not as forthcoming as I could have been, because I didn't truly understand how that portrayed out in my relationships.
Yeah.
And so for me, leaving was a great option for me to, kind of quarantine myself, and I'm not going to hurt me. That's what I thought. So it's like, okay, I'll just leave, and that way nobody can hurt me.
Yeah.
But I think that when you're willing to stick in that ring and willing to say, okay, we're going to go for round, and that's not meaning a fight, but whatever is thrown at us, we're going to be able to duck,
Yep.
So I think that's kind of one of the keys to resolving arguments.
I think that in order to have a healthy conversation or a healthy argument, you absolutely need to have, of course, communication. Duh, that's a given. But you also need to remember who that person is in your life. You may not like them now or during that time, but you generally do, or you should, right? And so whenever you genuinely like someone, and I'm not talking about love, I'm talking about the basic levels of friendship. When you like your friend, you need to make sure that you come at them correctly.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to, like they say, you catch more bees with honey. Nobody is going to react. Nobody, not even you, is going to react kindly if you're feeling like this all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you just break it down and really think about, okay, what is my true issue? Why am I mad? Why am I getting so defensive? You have to break it down. And I think that if you kind of start, and it's hard, I know this sounds better when you're in the midst of it, you're not going to be doing this. Let's be realistic. No. But if you kind of remind yourself over and over, hey, this is my friend. This is my friend. Let me talk to my friend correct.
Yeah.
Then maybe it will calm you down. It's not going to be perfect. You're not always going to talk to each other like that. But I think the resolution, after y'all are arguing, you need to sit down and have a conversation about what happened and how to fix it.
I think for us, even, I guess, progressing even the way we argue or the way we should is, just kind of still, like, it goes back to the intention thing, like still just being able to, like, hey, I didn't really like that, and then when that person says I didn't mean it like that, it's like you have to erase that feeling in your head.
Yes.
And so I think that going into it once you're you're with that person, you just erase it, just chop it up. And the more, and that takes a little bit of caring a little less, because I do feel like the more you care, the more restrictions and guidelines you put on how that person can interact with you. So if you care a little less, then it's not going to bother you as much. Care a little less about the interaction and care a little more about the relationship as a whole. And I do think the older you get, you got to start really respecting that time that you're allotted with your person, because you don't know who's going to go first. You don't know what's going to happen in life. And so it's better to just say, okay, is the way I'm feeling worth the relationship?
Yeah.
Because if it's not, get what you need to say out. Don't sweep it under the rug. Get what you need to say out. Be willing to listen. Be willing to relate. And just move on.
I think a lot of that comes with emotional maturity. Whenever you can control your emotions, that is the biggest power that you can have. When you let people control your emotions way too much, they have that power over you.
Yeah.
And that's with anybody. But I think it's incredibly alluring when someone can control their emotions and be like, you know what? I understand you're upset. I'm upset too. But come on, we gotta be real with each other. We gotta talk to each other nicely,
Yeah.
or even or just respectfully.
Yeah.
Nice is hard when
Yeah.
you're mad. Respectfully, but if you can control the way you react and don't let people take your power.
Yeah.
I always like to say that my anger is super expensive. It takes a lot for me to get angry like that. It's very expensive. So if you can't afford it, you don't come at me like that.
Yeah.
Because I cannot allow myself to get that angry, because it's my time is expensive, my energy is expensive, and I can't just give it away for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, I've definitely matured emotionally.
Yes.
A lot of my arguments were rooted in anger, and it would come out in full transparency, me punching walls, me throwing things, me leaving, me saying things I don't mean, me, continue to ponder on things. All of those things were a recipe for my demise. I had to start loving myself a little more and understanding a little more about myself. And to your point, being able to control and manage my own emotions.
You had a lot of trauma that you didn't know you had.
Yeah, yeah. And it's hard when you're in a deep, very passionate romantic relationship and you're getting to know one another and you're playing house. You have kids, you're probably freshly engaged or newly married. You may be having money issues. There's a lot of things that compound the anger, which turn into arguments.
Yes.
So I think I've learned really, and I was saying this to you earlier, I've learned how to argue and focus on the center and not the circle. And for me, I was so busy focusing on going around and around, but this, I don't believe that. Oh, why did she do this? Blah, blah. And I was going around in circles, and to the point where I was just emotionally dizzy. And once I kind of really started to just calm down and honestly, for me, care a little less about certain situations. Oh yeah, you had to tell me. I don't care. It's not that big of a deal. It really helped me out. So I think ultimately just being able to say, you know what, let me fix me. And as long as I'm fixing me, that's probably all I can do.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna argue less. I'm gonna be less irritable, because I know even with the kids, I know they were like, man, walking on eggshells around me and stuff like that. I know when they were younger, it was like that.
Yeah.
And I had a lot on my plate, a lot on my shoulders, and I didn't have an outlet, so I started working out. I started just I do breathing exercises. Just focus on just putting a little weird smile on my face. Sometimes I just be like,
Well, yes, true. I think you've done an amazing job at maturing.
Thank you.
You really have. And we were both, when we got together, I was like 23. You were baby in your 30s. And so we've grown a lot individually and together.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of the progress that you've made.
Likewise.
Because you've helped me a lot. And I know I probably helped you a lot too with that. You know, remember, everything should be out of love.
Yeah.
And like.
Yeah.
I think like is stronger than love sometimes.
Agreed.
Well, I like and love you.
I love and like you.
And we like and love y'all.
Already.
To all you Day One Dans and Day One Danielles and the Climax crew.
Yeah.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode. We will have some questions coming out on our Facebook, Closet Margaritas, as well. We're getting a TikTok, y'all. I have it set up. I just need to put some more videos on there, or put some videos on there. And we also have a podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify, iHeart Radio, Amazon, all those fun places. So please go on there, like and subscribe to all of our platforms, please. It makes a world of a difference for your support. And it also encourages us to keep going.
Yeah.
And do this. So, and we also bought all this expensive ass equipment. So please help us. Okay. But, yeah, great conversation again, Chancito.
Agreed.
I appreciate you.
I do too.
And I guess we'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Bye.